Hello, everyone. Welcome back for another exclusive TIFF interview here at the Collider Suite. I am very excited to be talking to the team behind Hearts and Bones right now. Just to jump into it, because a lot of folks out there do not know what your movie is about. I assume, Ben, you want to give the 101. I feel like I have to.
Yeah, sure. Look, the film is about a war photographer who's returning home. And he's approached by a South Sudanese man who he had photographed 20 years earlier. And the film becomes about their friendship and a mystery that is, I guess, unravelled through the film that revolves around a central photograph. But it's ultimately about friendship.
And this is your first scripted feature, moving over from making a documentary. Why make the move with this particular story?
That's a good question. I really wanted to tell this story. It was built upon a lot of experiences that I had with people I'd met throughout the community in Sydney. And so it was really pieced together through real life experiences. And in that, I think there's a documentary element, but it felt like it needed to be told in a tight mystery drama fashion.
And it also was informed in some way. The genesis of this started before, quite some time ago, but it was informed by Ben's last documentary as well. The spirit of it, what's going on between the two men, is sort of informed.
Yeah, it's very true.
I just remember that I was reading that you had read the script a long, long time ago, right? Does that happen to you often, where a script will cross your desk and then years later a new version of it will come again and you'll go for it?
Yeah, sometimes, absolutely. And it was just something that Ben was working on, and then went away and was pursuing his documentary, and then there was another iteration of it, and we kind of clicked with that script, and clicked pretty much straight away, went and caught up with each other, and I was on board.
And Andrew, speaking of first features, this is your first feature, and it just astounds me because you're something else in this. So how did that come about for you? Were you interested in performing before?
Yeah, I was actually looking forward to, and until I see Ben coming around, I knew it's real now. Yeah, it's an exciting thing to do.
This is very real and something you should be very proud of. I'm curious, what were some of the biggest questions for all three of you, that you had for Ben? Because I feel like this is the kind of movie that doesn't necessarily give any easy answers in the end, which makes it a very interesting discussion piece. So for all of your characters, what was the biggest question that you had for Ben before jumping in?
I just knew I had to do it. The minute I got the script, it wasn't about whether I should do it. It was, I have to do it, and whatever I have to do to get the role, I would do. Because I just hadn't seen a woman like Anishka before. I mean, she was written, just going into audition for her, I could feel her. I could sense her, and I knew her, and yeah, it was probably the best gift I've had in a while, so yeah.
Did you guys have any questions about your characters before you started shooting the film?
You have many, but I suppose the question for me, or the conversation for me with Ben was primarily, maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, was about tone and because we're sort of it feels like in many ways, there has a sort of documentary camera. There's a sense of that. It feels like it's very real, very true, very real. And so we're working with professional actors and people who haven't acted before. There's some improvisational scenes. It's a very guerrilla film unit. Just sort of what tone are we striking? And it wasn't something we did talk about, but was something that kind of became apparent as we went along. It was just like finding that place that we could all exist in a very true way. That was the thing that was most sort of present in my mind, I think.
Do you think that someone who didn't have a documentary background like Ben could have made the film quite the same way? And actually, what is it like working with Ben as an actor's director, given his background, compared to other directors you two have worked with?
Well, Ben feels to me like he's made about 4 features before this, and very calm, very prepped. He's written the script. He's grown up on film sets all his life. So very, very in control, but very flexible as well. So really breezy and easy. I'm sure it doesn't feel like that inside, but that's how.
This
that's
is
how
the
it
make
always
Ben
feels
blush
to
portion
me.
of the
Yeah,
interview.
yes. It was very collaborative. It didn't feel like. I'd come to him with something as simple as because I did a different accent in the movie, and if I felt that in a certain part it should sound a certain way, he was so open to that, and yeah, it just felt that it wasn't a director telling you what he felt should be how it should be done, and no other way. It was more a conversation, and I think that's quite rare, in the industry. So working with Ben with that and with Hugo, for me it was just a whole learning experience on how to not just work with others, but to, I don't know, I'm gonna probably make you blush more and make myself cry, but it just, the humanity of it, and just listening to another person and listening to what they have to say, and encouraging them, and that's how I felt. I felt so encouraged on set, not just by Ben, but by both Hugo and Andrew, and literally was the best set ever that I'd ever worked on.
Yeah, I remember something also for me, though it was my first time. Ben is a very special person because the way he started with me was actually very gentle, with photos and then going over. I don't know if we can find somebody who is better than him. No.
Are you blushing yet?
He's the best. He's the best. And there was a certain time that I was thinking of something else. So he pulled me away from people and was asking me questions. Is everything okay? So he asked me these questions. So I knew something was not right that I was doing. He wanted it to be to that level, and I'm not prepared to do that. So I started adjusting myself to the level that he wanted me to, So this guy is everything.
Oh.
He's everything. And also to meet, and also to meet these guys here was a privilege to me, because the script was actually very long. It's a book, but having them around me is actually comforting me, and I feel really so privileged to be with them.
I love movies and making movies more than you know. So whenever I hear about a group of people that come together and so wholeheartedly believe in each other and support each other while making an important story, I'm so happy to hear these answers. Andrew, I also wanted to know from your perspective, what was the most surprising thing about making a movie? Was there anything where you're standing there on set and you're like, oh, that's how they do it?
Yeah, it's actually, it sounds easy, but it's very difficult, really difficult. Repeating 50 times or maybe more of one thing, doing one thing. And plus the pressure of a camera and, so we get used to that slowly until we get to the level that was required, But it's very, very exciting. Once we get into that, it's very, very exciting. It's like we should continue doing it every time.
I have 2 story points I want to ask you guys about. First off, I just was curious why it was important to have the pregnancy in both relationships. I mean, I think I'm very focused on that right now because my sister just had a baby, so I kind of know what it means to me. But what inspired you to include that so heavily in this movie?
What inspired me was Bolude turning up pregnant at the casting.
Oh.
And we didn't want to hide it. We couldn't hide it. So that was autumn. And she, in the session, in the test, Bolude did such an amazing test. She brought her young son in, who was 3 at the time, and he was running amok while she was doing the scene, and just absorbed it into this quite a powerful testing scene. But the pregnancy thing, it wasn't intentional. It wasn't in the script, and we just consumed it. And the whole thing about making the film was about letting real life in, and this was a gift, and I think just rode with it, went with it.
When you're in a situation like that and you're auditioning for movies, do you walk in that room and you're like, oh no, maybe I won't get this because of my situation right now?
Not only that, let's just be real. So Anishka wasn't me. she didn't look like me. She didn't sound like me. She wasn't pregnant. The vibe was so not me. And this is, again, he didn't pay me to say this, but this is just a testament to the caliber of a director and of a human that Ben is. He had to do a whole 180 on Anishka because she didn't look like me. She didn't have an accent. And I walk in, do what I did, and he, has no problems to say, you know what, we're going to throw out that picture of Anishka and embrace this person that's standing in front of me. And I don't know, that doesn't happen a lot in Hollywood. I mean, unless you're Meryl Streep or Halle Berry, I guess that might happen, but it happened for me. And yeah, it just never happens. And for him to do that so seamlessly and easily, it just not only gave me faith in that I could do this, but gave me that vote of confidence, then that belief that if he's going to believe in me, then I better believe in myself and do it right. Yeah.
And her tummy nearly explode.
I love that all of that worked out, because I do think it adds a really, really meaningful, touching layer to this movie. And it just, it heightens the pressure of the situation and the importance of sending the right messages to further generations. The other thing that I love about this story is how you incorporate music, because music is an important part of my life. And I think anybody in their lives needs, whenever they're having a tough time, something to turn to in order to, fill a void, boost their mood, anything at all. So whether it's music or something else, what is that thing in your life that you turn to when you're down or stressed?
Oh, I think in this film, it's definitely about the healing power of music, isn't it? So I tend to turn to, music, but books, literature, so reading, and film, and nature, the natural world, going for walks, sunsets, forests, rivers.
Good assortment right there. How about for you guys?
It's Jesus. I'm a Christian, so for me, it's my faith. I just put on worship music or just go into prayer, and I'm right where I want to be.
It's a hobby. Music is a hobby to me. And doing it in a group as well, it's extraordinary because it's connected to that thing, the scene that the people are in the water, And the words, it says, going a road which leads to nowhere. You don't know where you came from. You don't know where you're going and what you would meet. Just be into that water and someone else will pick you up, And the hand will turn like God's hand, It was really, really important to have it over there. So he did a great job to pick it up. And Ben actually came up with some of the things that I never knew someone else would come up with in Western world. He came up with some of the words like "Inni lillahi wa inni ilayhi raji'un." That was in Arabic. He's the one who came up with, to God and to God it returns. It means that, very interesting.
Anything for you, Ben, especially also as, a first-time narrative feature director, when you are just up to your eyeballs in stress, when you're worried about something, one, what is the thing that you turn to in order to kind of bring that light into your life? But also, what's your on-set vice when you're super stressed and need to relax?
I think for me, what calms me and grounds me is connecting with people. And I think that's a really important theme in the film, but I think it crosses documentary. I'm fascinated by people and their stories, and I think even in the stress of making the film, just to step aside and talk to someone and connect with someone and say what's going on or how's life, and start talking about something else for a moment apart from the film, it gives everyone perspective. And I think that it reminds you that that's what we're all here, is to understand each other, and so that actually gives me a lot of peace. So yeah.
Makes it all real.
It makes it all real, and we've all got lives, and outside of all of this. So that's what I wanted to remind everyone in making the film as well.
Guys, thank you so much for your time this morning. You're kicking off my day at TIFF on a really high note. I appreciate that, and a huge congratulations on the movie, sincerely. Everybody, please keep an eye out for Hearts and Bones. A thank you to all of you for watching this interview. Do not leave without liking and sharing it. And before we say goodbye, a huge thank you to our wonderful sponsor, Nordstrom Canada. We could not be here covering these movies without them, so thank you. We'll have so much more TIFF 2019 coverage coming your way real soon.